World News. Interesting, he was accompanied by several ministers. He's got a high-profile business delegation with him, but also a few yoga instructors as well, part of that delegation advertising India's appeal, really, to investors who are gathered at Davos. Let's return to that breaking news I brought you just a short time ago about the earthquake that has happened near Alaska. We're getting details from the US Geological Survey. A big earthquake, magnitude of 8.2. We're showing you the area here that has hit 250 kilometres off Alaska. Looking into this for us is our correspondent Richard Galpin, who is with me now. Sparsely populated area, but this is pretty big, Richard, at 8.2.
Definitely, it's either 8 or 8.2, so that's a massive earthquake. We understand from the Geological Survey that it's about 10 kilometres depth, obviously out to sea. My understanding is that's not particularly deep, which is hence the tsunami warning. And there are very severe warnings. The Anchorage Office of Emergency Management is saying that they're worried about the coastal areas of Alaska and of Canada, British Columbia in particular, and they're saying there's an extraordinary threat to life or property, and they're saying that people should respond quickly, and there are calls for people to move away from coastal areas if that's where they live, move inland to higher ground.
Are we talking about a lot of people? Because I always imagine that bit of coast, Richard, to be quite sparsely populated.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably right, but it extends also to British Columbia, to Canada, and there's a watch, a tsunami watch, for the whole of the west coast of the United States. So clearly there's a lot of concern, but you know, as these things are, then clearly the authorities want to get a message out in case. They're not sure at the moment, but they believe that potentially a tsunami has been generated.
Always better to be safe than sorry in these instances. Richard, thank you so much. We'll keep across developments for you as well from Alaska. But let's return to another one of our top stories today. The news that the South African music legend Hugh Masekela has died. Phil Mpela is an entertainment blogger based in Johannesburg, and he joins me now from there. Phil, I'm just looking at some of the tributes that are already coming in, and Jacob Zuma has said an immeasurable loss to the country at large. Give us an idea of some of the reaction that we're hearing at the death of Hugh Masekela, often called, you know, the father of South African jazz.
Indeed. I mean, if you look at what was happening on social media this morning when the story broke, everybody's in shock, even though last year in October, a statement was put out by the family that he was battling with cancer. So as much as it wasn't unexpected, but it's still a shocking revelation and story here in South Africa. Is the #1 trending story on social media. His Monica Brahiu is the second most trending topic on social media. So the entire country right now is in shock following the reports of his passing.
Phil, give us an idea of just how important he was, his contribution not only to music, but of course to politics in South Africa.
Look, from the 60s and the 70s, he was a very prominent figure outside of South Africa in terms of using his platform in the arts to bring attention to what was happening in South Africa in terms of apartheid. I mean, he and people like the late Miriam Makeba really held a torch all over the world and brought attention to what was happening to South Africa. But just recently, he gained prominence by collaborating with the young artists here in South Africa. One that comes to mind is Thandiswa Mazwai, and that brought Brahiu into the awareness of young people who may not have known about his music, because his music is jazz, which is not really a particularly popular genre of music with young people here in South Africa or in Africa. But collaborating with young musicians such as Thandiswa Mazwai brought his name and his prominence and his music into the awareness of young people. So young, old, anybody, everybody in South Africa knows who Brahiu is, and everybody right now is in shock. And for the next 7 days, probably the #1 story will be Brahiu.
Phil, thanks so much for joining us. Phil Mpela there in Johannesburg, just reflecting on the life of Hugh Masekela, who has died. As he mentioned, the country in shock, although he did have cancer, so we knew that he was unwell, but so many tributes just flowing in to social media outlets in South Africa at the moment. Good to have you with us on GMT. We're following lots of stories for you here on BBC World News today. Hope you can stay with us. See you again shortly.